Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I had a quiet spell yesterday afternoon, so I was just going through my records, making sure stuff was updated, is what's in bud and what's got flowers, what's finished flowering. I don't like my records saying in flower when they're actually not, and then I can update dates and things as to how long blooms last, all that sort of stuff, just a leisurely time. And it did dawn on me due to previous years. This species Vanda, which is Roblingiana, did actually bloom for the first time last year. That was its first blooming for me, but I only got it towards the end of the previous year. And when it arrived, I was disappointed. It was a tatty looking plant. It really hadn't been looked after. A lot of the lower leaves had died off. I've still got one hanging in there, which I really ought to take off, especially now. But it did produce a kiki at the base, which I'm hoping, the theory is that the kiki will grow on and cover up the worst part of the base of the plant, because it is a tatty looking thing. This is a weird one. That was one of the spikes, and when it had finished blooming I cut it off, and like green sheaths grew over the spike. I haven't got a clue what it's doing, but I thought I'd have a quick look and see what was going on. Now this leaf folded. I don't know why, perhaps it was lack of hydration, but it won't open up. But when I open it up with my fingers, if I can do it with one hand, down in there is a spike. And then I thought, well, I wonder, last year it had 3 spikes. So I had another look. Well, that's 2. And then I had another look. That's 3. And then I had another look. That's 4. So that's got 4 spikes coming on it. That's one better than last year. But the progress of the plant is such that it's getting better. Effectively, from here upwards is my growth. Why that leaf keeled over, I don't know, but it has. It's too late to worry about it now. But I think what it is this plant has got very poor roots, and a lot of these are dead, quite honestly. They're just brittle. They're not viable, which leaves not that many roots. It is growing one nice new one higher up the stem. But as a consequence, it's probably not hydrating as well as it should. And lack of hydration would cause that sort of thing on a leaf. Now, unfortunately, due to just checking that, I got some bugs on this, so I shall have to give this one a spray. I'm not quite sure what that is. It looks like there's an adult scale there. And those are probably the crawlers. So I need to get at it, stop them getting out of hand. And I'll also give the rest of the plant a check. The places those sort of things are going to get are in creases. Yeah, so they're going to be in the leaves that are, touching. It does just look like it's a mini outbreak, just that one old leaf. The easy answer is to just cut the flipping leaf off, quite honestly. It's not doing any good, it's yellow. So anyway, I'll deal with that as a separate issue. But yeah, it's a species Vanda. I'll put a pop-up up. The blooms are very nice. Nothing like your big blousy hybrid type Vandas, but delicate, nice colours. So 4 spikes. I haven't got a clue how long they're going to take to develop, but this time next year I'll know how long they take to develop, because I'll update my notes to say that the spikes started on this date, and then when those blooms first open I'll have the date that the blooms open, so I'll know how long the spikes take to develop. But those sort of records take quite a long time to evolve, because first of all I've got to get some buds or spikes since I started that idea of keeping those sorts of records. But I just sent an email to the guy running the our display at the Malvern thing, saying what time can I bring my plants round this evening, and unfortunately some of what would have been the really good ones are starting to go over, and they need to last till Sunday when the display comes down. It's no good having well, I suppose some people get away with it, but the judging takes place Thursday evening, and then it's open to the public Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So a plant and a display that's in really good nick on Thursday, by the time it gets to Friday, has already been judged. So if a plant goes over during the show, it can just be taken out because it's already been judged. Now, I don't personally agree with that. I think a display should be set up not only for the judging, but for the public. You know, people pay to go to these shows, and they'd like to see all the displays in good condition, you know, as judged, on the last day of the show as well as the first day. But anyway, he said, just bring everything. Anything that's in flower, bring it. We need as many plants as possible. So I'll have to have a sort out today and see what can go. I'm reluctant to let my Vandas go, I must admit. They're prone to damage. But he said bring everything, and I mean that, you know, that is a good blooming. You know, it's got large flowers with lovely patterns on, and that's a nice bright orange, and by Sunday there'll be another 4 or 5 blooms open on that spike. So I suppose those two had better go. The Shelob Tolkien is not going to make it. These blooms are not going to be open by Thursday evening. You know, it's Tuesday morning now. That is not going to be open within the next 2 or 3 days. I know the plant well enough, and that one's gone, so that's no good. But yeah, I mean, Shari Baby can go. The Miltoniopsis Sunset's definitely going. Much else, really. There's no point in taking the Nobelies, even though they've got blooms on, because as a Nobile, that is a poor show, because it's effectively its second flush, you know. And Harveyanum's got one, you know, 3 bloom spike open, so there's no point in taking that. I'm going to take Wedding Bells because these blooms seem to be hanging in there, and these didn't all open at once, so even if a few start to go over, they can be trimmed off and still leave a reasonable show, so that one can definitely go. And I'm not sure about this one. This had an initial spike that opened, and the rest of the blooms opened 4 or 5 days later. Well, that initial spike I've trimmed off because those blooms have gone over, so I don't think that's going to last till Sunday, but it's probably going to be okay for Thursday night. So that's up to them what they do. But it can go. And I think I'll take the Wildcat Cheetah as well, simply because it's a nice spike. It's a rubbish plant, but they'll have to hide it. You know, they can bury that in amongst other leaves and things and just have the flowers sticking out. So I'll leave that up to them. But yeah, there's a few to go. And yeah, but I'm well pleased with that Vanda species. 4 spikes is going to put on a good show. But I've got to try and work on these roots. I think what I might have to do is just start watering it twice a day. Because you know, the fact that it's not hydrating is due to its lack of roots, not lack of watering on my part. It gets done every day. But it's just not enough. It's not hydrating the plant enough. So I think I might have to switch that one to getting an afternoon soak as well as a morning soak. And see if that pulls it on a bit. It would be nice if the Kiki started to push some roots out, because then I'd have some new roots, you know, still attached to the plant, still feeding the mother plant as well as the Kiki. And but yeah, the number of new roots on this is minimal. You know, there's one here. There's a little couple of branches on that root. There's one that's pushed up the back of the bark behind the stem. That hydrates nicely, and that branched, and quite honestly that's the root there shooting out from the back. It's gone up the bark, it's come out sideways and gone right round the back, and it's also grown downwards and round there, that, and then down there. That's really its only good root. Most of the rest of them are just not up to much at all. There's a couple of branches in other places, so there are some roots, but it's just not enough for a plant that size. So I'm wondering whether to just trim the bottom of the plant off. Trouble is, I would lose several of the, you know, the new shoots. can't do that. I could trim off a fair bit of the old stuff though. You know, sometimes taking a bit of the rhizome off at the base of a vanda will trigger roots higher up. Might be worth having a tidy up on the root front and see if it triggers more roots. I need more like this. This is what I need, is good big strong ones coming out higher up the stem. The theory being that in years to come the whole stem can be cut off, but it needs replacement roots first. You know, and that would make it a much tidier plant if the bottom end just came off. On reflection, I wish I hadn't mounted it. I wish I'd left it bare rooted. But yeah, decision was made, and unfortunately the good roots have attached. So I can't afford to lose those good roots now until things like this have replaced them. Still, spikes to come. Goody. Now I have to get these plants tidied up, ready to pack up and put in the car this evening, and that's going to leave some space, isn't it? Big holes everywhere. Still, that's as it is. I mean, if you take part in a society, part of that, you know, joining in thing is to lend your plants for the shows, you know, when they go out on the road. You know, it keeps the name of the society buoyant amongst the orchid people in the country. You know, they get to know you and stuff like that. We're not going to pick up any new members at the Malvern show. That's highly unlikely. It's far too far from home. But we do pick up new members at our own shows, you know, because those people tend to be local people. Still, I'll leave it at that for now, and thanks for dropping by. See you next time.